So I hope by laying kind of the groundwork in the beginning and talking a lot about the emotional reactions, the mental reactions, the thought processes, going through the physical reactions that happen, um, and the dynamics of why we think the way we do and how things happen. I hope that we've put together a big picture here of understanding that's helped you understand really both anxiety and anger. It really boils down to anger and anxiety, is really what it boils down to. There's so much more to it. I get that, but when you really break it down, all of our emotional problems really boil down to some type of anxiety or anxiousness, um, and or depression and anger. Okay, so anxiety is worrying about things in the future. Depression is worrying about things in the past, dwelling on things in the past. Um, and both of those are misusing your incredible power of visualization. Um, the visualization, the power to create visions of things, and you're misusing that and creating visions of things that will probably never happen, or they've already happened, and it's over, and we're reliving it. I've seen this a lot, in several friends who've had someone close to them very close to them die, and they're unable to let it go. And letting go of a death and grieving is a very hard thing. Um, and I get it. I've been through some very traumatic deaths recently, and but not letting that go is very, very unhealthy, and really depression falls in that category. So, with anxiety and depression, both you're wasting precious time and energy watching this loop of utter nonsense just completely replay over and over and over and over in our heads. Um, and at some point, we have to stop the loop, and we have to start focusing our time. I mean, you can make all the money in the world you want, but you can't make any more time. You don't get it back. It just doesn't come back. And boy, if there's one thing I've learned as I'm approaching 50, the same thing with your energy. I wish I could do half the stuff I could do just 5 years ago. So it you have to protect it, and wasting it on this loop of just stuff is really doesn't make any sense. When you look at it from that angle, it doesn't make any sense. So and it's exhausting, right? We all know it's exhausting. And then sometimes it grows to even be bigger than that and more than that, and it gets out of control, and then it causes major acute side effects. Acute meaning bad, difficult situation, unwanted type of situation, and it's intense, and it comes on very quickly. They use acute in medical terminology to mean that it happened. It's very intense and very quick, and so you get these acute symptoms when you have this anxiety, have this anger, increased heart rate, hyperventilation, sweating, trembling, fatigue, trouble concentrating, insomnia, and not to mention, all the weird thoughts and everything that comes flooding in with it. Okay. Then there are the chronic health problems, which are the opposite of acute. They're the ones that stack up. But we talked a lot about that in the first couple of weeks, that the chronic health problems are induced by long-term stress, and it's very, very detrimental to our health, cause major long-term problems. They're just scratching the surface on these, but including cancer, gastro problems, brain problems, chronic depression, heart disease. I don't think there's any end. I think the mind has an extremely powerful, overwhelming effect on the body, and we're making ourselves sick, and we don't need any help, right? Our bodies are just, they're organic. They're they're prone to failure, susceptible to environmental hazards, and what we put into it, it doesn't need any help from our brain. Our brain's supposed to help. So, and then last week we talked about anger, and specifically anger is typically when something doesn't work out the way we want it to. It isn't always a bad thing, and sometimes it's warranted. Just because I say it doesn't work out the way we want it to, that I don't mean that in a selfish way all the time. Sometimes it can be selfish, for sure, but it isn't always. Sometimes it's justified. Sometimes you have a right to be angry, and sometimes it's a very healthy thing. But it's our reaction to anger that is what is important. And when we understand our anger, it helps us understand the cause, which I hope that I've been able to help do over the last couple of weeks. And it one helps us to control it so we can express it in a healthy way. And two, hopefully, eventually, it helps us reduce the onset so it happens less frequently. And I can attest that you can reduce the amount of anxiety and anger in your daily activities. I'm living proof. I can vouch for that, hands down. So let's see what we got to say over here. Absolutely. That's exact. Yeah, you beat me to it. I think you typed that in before I even just said that. Yeah, it's all about visualizing positive things. And this is, I mentioned in the first couple of weeks, this is where I believe in the fake it till you make it thing. People will tell you that's a bunch of crap. And I don't mean just act like, whatever. I mean, if you fake being happy long enough, I guess this is an arguable point. I'm sure there's arguments behind it, but you're practicing the positivity, visualizing the positivity. And even if you don't totally feel it 100% through your bones, while you still believe in it and you have faith in it and you practice in it and practice that visualization, eventually you do get into the happy loop. It's neuroplasticity, right? I mean, we're retraining ourselves. So, that's not good. You need to take care of yourself. Hopefully I'm helping a little bit in that department for sure. I hope you're okay. So anyway, again, so we can control it and express it in a healthy way and reduce the onset. And that goes for both anger and anxiety, and even depression for that matter. Our perception drives those things, and we've learned about it. And like Terry was just talking about, when we begin to change our perception and begin to visualize what we want and how we want things to be, we begin to change them over time. So we have to openly acknowledge and be aware of it constantly in order to gradually see the changes that we want. And one of the hardest things to do is to look in a mirror. It's really hard to do. It's just so easy to blame someone else, and especially when it's someone else's fault, right? I mean, if somebody walked up and spray painted your car, you'd have every right to be angry. And then you'd say, well, that person spray painted my car and they made me angry. But in reality, there's no one that can make you angry without your permission. And chew on that for a minute, because that's 100% accurate. And that's a pretty hard hitting statement. And not just angry. No one can make you feel any way without your permission. That's part of the 4 agreements. Okay. It's when we conspire in relationships. Okay. So we have different roles we play with different people. And when someone says something to you to make you feel a certain way, and particularly someone you have a relationship with, more than likely you're conspiring with them. They feel like they can say certain things to you, And then predictably, you're going to act the way you've always acted. And you do. We do. I do. It's just human behavior 101. And so you give them permission to make you angry, to make you upset. We've talked about it as choices. You have the right to reject that. It's easier said than done, but it's the truth. Okay. So again, it's hard to look at ourselves. It's really hard to do that, especially when we can blame someone else. That's the ego. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. It's that person's fault. Okay. But we know it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you, but we now know that you have complete control over everything. Okay. Sometimes you're riding a tame little pony, and sometimes you're riding a bucking bronco, but to some degree, you have control over what's going on. Okay. So we have to look in the mirror, openly acknowledge and be aware. The awareness. We have to see the way things are to be able to make them the way we want. If our car breaks down, we can't go buy a new part and put the new part on until we know which part is broken. If your air conditioning breaks on your car and you put new tires on it, it's not going to help. It may look good, but it's not going to help the air conditioning. So we have to really get in and identify. And that's hard. It's really, 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 really hard. Okay. But there's a trick on the flip side of that, because we're doing it wrong, right? We're doing this stupid, and that's not the way to do it. When you understand that we're all screwed up in our own right in some way or another, it's called being humans, it's just the way we are. There's a pendulum. You learn to do things one way, you learn to do them the other way, and you balance out in the middle, and then you die. That's the way life works. That's a little nihilist, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And so when we understand that, now we can have compassion. So if you go to look in the mirror and you tell yourself beforehand, whatever I find in the mirror, I'm going to accept, and then we'll work through it, and be compassionate with ourselves. Don't be harsh. Don't be critical. Don't do the stupid. There's no point. It's really not your fault. Right? We all learn to be who we are. We learn from other people. We were either taught or we observed. Okay. You're not going to undo 30, 40, 50 years of programming in just a few weeks. It doesn't happen. It used to drive me crazy when people would come to me for weight loss, and people, were 30, 40 years old and they've been overweight almost their entire lives. And they come to me for, a few weeks, and then they get mad when they didn't lose all their weight. There's stuff you can buy into. First of all, half the stuff that you see probably doesn't work. And the stuff that does work, that'll take 60 pounds of fat off in 3 weeks or 90 days or whatever it is, as soon as you stop, it's going to come right back on. You just can't undo it that quickly. You have to go the distance. You have to pace yourself. You have to be patient. You have to be compassionate. You have to be aware, which is why we're here. It takes time. Be patient. Okay. Because contrary to popular belief, none of us are true magicians or sorcerers or superheroes. Well, I'm Batman, but even Batman doesn't have superpowers. He's just a human in a really cool suit with a bunch of cool toys because he's rich. But you're not a magician, so be patient. Just be human. Okay. So tonight I want to discuss some techniques on how to deal with anxiety and anger. Now, these aren't magic tricks, but they are extremely helpful. All right, jumped in. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. This is my story. Great. Thank you for the quote. It's exactly what we're talking about. Good. I'm glad you were able to apply. Good. It is a lifestyle for sure. Yeah, this is a commitment. And that's what I used to with the people that come to me for weight loss, which is how I got into this, because it was a mindset change, and I realized it was a mindset change. And I thought I should move from helping people lose weight to a mindset change, because it can spill over into everything, because that's the true secret to success. That's exactly, it's a lifestyle. So, all right. So techniques to deal with anxiety and anger. First, anger, predominantly anger, anxiety too, but I'm going to make a huge generalization here. Anxiety is typically in the mind. Anger is typically some type of physical presence. There is spillover into both. I understand that you can have anxiety when you're in a situation, large crowds or loud noises, whatever. And then, anger, we can certainly, especially in this group, I'm sure we all can tell a story about how we've chewed on some things with our MPE status that have made us angry in here, more so than a physical. But I'm just talking about in general. I'm talking about a situation where you're in a physical situation where you have to remove yourself. The best tactic is to remove yourself from the environment that is making you angry, and which is way easier said than done. I get it, especially some of us, fight or flight. Some people are more prone to fly, and some people are more prone to fight. And it's just the way I am, I guess, the way I was raised. I have sisters and I'm protective, and I'm always a person who'll turn around and take the brunt of it. And but some people aren't that way. And so I have a real hard time now of checking out of situations that make me angry, because I have learned to just take it head on. And now I'm trying to unlearn that. Everything that we've discussed over the last 10 weeks is I'm living it. I don't even want to say lived past tense. I mean, this is still daily. This is work, man, all day long. This is I'm still rebuilding my life. I can't say that I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I've been enlightened, and like I'm the Buddha or something, because that is certainly not true. I can tell you that I've created a beautiful life for myself out of a lot of darkness in the last 15 years. I'm still a work in progress. So, and one of the things with the anger is so hard to remove yourself, especially when you feel like you're being disrespected. Your ego jumps up and it wants to, don't let them say that about you, or don't let them do this to you, and it gets really hard of knowing when that's true and when it's not. So a lot of times just walking away does no real harm or damage in the long run. We think it does, and it doesn't. It can cause damage if we remain angry and we don't get to express that in a healthy way. It's kind of a different conversation. And I'm talking about something simple like, a family argument. Well, I probably shouldn't have used that analogy in this group. There are certainly different levels of family arguments that we can. I'm just talking about maybe the people you live with, that you interact with, your spouse or your children. If you're having a tiff, or you run across someone in the supermarket or in traffic or something, like where you can just remove yourself, not have to have the last word. Remove yourself and de-escalate the situations. It's the simplest solution. It may not be the easiest, but it does get easier. And this is something I've had a real problem with. This is, if I could call my wife in here right now, she would testify to this right here, of being able to try to shut my mouth. And I still don't pull it off. I'm not afraid to tell people what I think. And so it's been a challenge for me. But we also have to be careful with that, with the avoidance, right? Changing your behavior to avoid people or situations because you can't control it, or you can't control your anger in a healthy way, that's not healthy either. Okay, this begins to fall into the anxiety category. If you're avoiding going places and being around people because you haven't yet learned, and I don't even mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that's part of the growth. But avoiding social situations falls into the anxiety category. I mean, people with anxiety begin to avoid going places, and it grows. And people, first they can't go here, and then now they can't be around people at all. And there's extreme cases, but I think you do understand, what I'm trying to say. So we got to be careful with that too. You have to express your anger in a healthy way, so not to avoid other people. And it helps with the awareness, because you begin to realize that some of the things that you're angry about really aren't worth being angry. And that also develops as this develops. Okay. So we need to remove ourselves from the environment until we can cool off. Okay. Let me see what we got over here. Yeah, Deborah said she had something that happened to her last year. She finally got over it. It's job related. It took a while. Yeah, I have some of those. It's amazing. There are some people who really wronged me in over the past. There's a couple of them that have really wronged me in my lifetime, and it's amazing to me now that I do this, and this is such a huge part of my life. It's amazing to me how quickly, when they come up in my mind, that I can flip a switch and be irate within seconds. It just blows my mind. The cool thing about it is that my mindfulness training has evolved, where I'm now becoming an observer, and I'm like, oh well, that escalated quickly, and I'm able to watch it happen. So I'm not just so involved in it. It's just amazing what the mind will do. The mind is so powerful. So what I want to get to is that whether you can or you cannot remove yourself from the situation, the important thing is that you employ the secret weapon. Anyone want to guess what the secret weapon is? It's kind of a trick question. It's probably one of those trick questions that as soon as I tell you the answer, hopefully somebody will get it. But if you don't, and I tell you the answer, you're all going to be like, oh. Yeah, I hope that situation worked out well for you. Sometimes it cannot work out so well. But being able to express yourself is important. We've talked about that. Is anyone going to guess? Got it. Yes, breathing. That's why we're here. It's a miracle drug. It really is a miracle cure. It's that simple. Okay, and it's what we've been talking about for 10 weeks now. And there's so much that goes into it. It's a very intricate response in the body. And we've talked about the amygdala and the vagus nerve and everything over the last couple of weeks. But basically, all you need to remember when you leave here is that increased oxygen in the brain, when the oxygen levels in the body rise and the brain detects that there's increased oxygen, okay, it sets off a cascade of events where the brain begins to calm down and send signals to the rest of the body saying, all is well in the world, chill out. Period. It is literally that simple. It's only harder than that if you allow it. Okay? You control this, remember? So the neat thing will be is when we're going to go over some of the techniques that we've talked about before, and I'm going to teach you a new breathing technique with it tonight. But now we've raised your awareness again. So what's going to happen is the next time you get angry or you get anxious, whatever, and you think to yourself, I should just do the breathing that Bradley told me to do. And then the other voice says, screw Bradley, we're angry and we're going to stay angry. Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. And the cool thing about that is you will witness it. And you will realize that you're making a choice to stay angry or anxious. Because I would imagine that some of you bought what I said, but still really aren't completely convinced. And some of you think, I don't really know about that. But you'll experience it, and that will probably happen. And you'll have a choice. And you'll say, I should do the breathing technique, or I want to stay angry. And you'll make a choice. But the cool thing about it is you will witness the choice. And when you witness the choice, your awareness goes up another notch. And then you'll be able to think about it later and then kind of go back over this stuff. And that's how this works. That's how we grow. Okay. And it does happen. We like our familiarity. We like our behavior patterns. It's why you hear stories and you say, I don't understand why she just doesn't leave him. I don't understand why they continue to work there. I don't understand why they do this, why they let these people do this to them. It's because we like our familiar behavior patterns. And that's going to happen to you probably when this happens. But I want you to just be aware of it and observe it. And when it happens, instead of, even if you make the wrong decision and you stay angry, instead of being angry with yourself, be happy that you caught it. We've talked about that too. Okay. Find the gratitude in it. Be like, hey, I did catch it. Okay. So let's check in here. Yeah. I'm sure you have been working on it, and I hope that I don't imply to anyone here that you're not, because this is a process for sure, and there's so much to it. It's so simple. I mean, it's complicated, but it's simple. We've gone through a lot of complicated information, but it's really simple. It boils down to breathing, and we're getting ready to talk about that too. Terry, yeah, just breathe. Just breathe. That's all you got to do is breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay. And you'll see, and that you'll probably see that people wear t-shirts say just breathe, and there's a song, just breathe. It's really that simple. So, all right, first technique, the simplest one that we have discussed. Can anybody tell me what that is? What do you think my first recommendation for a breathing technique in any stressful situation might be? The delay makes it awkward. I'm sorry. Maybe I should sing. Maybe not. The problem with the delay is I don't know, when I ask a question, I don't know how long to wait to see if it's just a delay or no one's going to answer. He said a cleansing breath. And I was going to really go with what I was looking for and it is a cleansing breath. And this may have been what you meant. The sigh of relief. The sigh of relief is the cure-all, catch-all. Man, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what you're going through. If you can be mindful enough to stop and take a deep breath and blow it out with some force and noise, if you want. I mean, we've talked about that. Just let it go. It does wonders. And I think we talked about it, that professional baseball pitchers, that's the last thing they do before they throw a pitch is let it all go. Just blow it all out. Okay? You can do it anywhere, anytime. all day long. And you don't have to do another. The cool thing about it is that you could just do a sigh of relief 37 times in a day, and you wouldn't have to do any other type of meditation. For real. Because what you're doing is you're increasing your oxygen level, and you're telling your brain to relax. And if you did that all day long, you would be essentially meditating all day long. It's that simple. Okay. So humans have an innate ability to overcomplicate things. And we've talked about so much here. And I'm trying to narrow it down and simplify it tonight for you. And I think the last one that I do, I'll probably really kind of tie it all together and do another kind of recap of what we're doing tonight. But just take a breath and blow it out. Okay. I guess even before that, I would say don't hold your breath. But the sigh of relief goes with that. Okay. So one of the other techniques that we have was counting the inhale and matching the exhale. Remember where we start to inhale, we count 1, 2, 3, 4 while we inhaled, and then we'd exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we do it again. Okay. And sometimes you can actually stretch the breath where you start, maybe you're counting to 3 or 4 on the inhale, 3 or 4 on the exhale. And then as you begin to relax, you might be able to get to 5 or even 6 on the inhale and the exhale. Okay, but you're still bringing your focus in, you're still breathing, you're still increasing your oxygen intake, which is relaxing the brain and sending signals to the body. It's very effective. Okay. Next, there was inhaling and exhaling and counting that as 1. So we'd inhale, exhale, that's 1. Inhale, exhale, and that's 2. And we count to 10. You count as high as you want. I don't care. You can count to 37. You count to 542. I don't care. This is a great technique for not only increasing the oxygen and relaxation, but it's also focus. So it can distract your attention away from situations that might make you anxious or angry. Okay. This is a great one for going to sleep. Remember, when I was a kid, people talk about counting sheep. I don't really know what that means. I guess you envision sheep jumping over a fence or something, you count them. I don't really know where that came from, but that's kind of what this is. You're focusing on your breath. Okay, so your mind's not being distracted. You're focusing, bringing your awareness in, focusing on your breath, and then you're increasing your relaxation. When you increase your relaxation, eventually you'll drift off to sleep. Okay, this is a great one to go to sleep. Okay. And all of these are easy and effective. You can use one, you can use a combination of them all day long. You can do it while you're sitting at your desk, while you're driving. This isn't meditation. Meditation can be as intricate as visualizing you're floating on a cloud with Jesus, or it can just be a matter of fact that you take a deep breath and blow it out while you're sitting at a traffic light because you're inhaling exhaust and it's hot. It doesn't have to be this moving magical experience. Okay, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. Don't forget that. It's very, very, very important. Okay, just use them regularly. You don't need to come here and sit with me. You don't need to put and guided meditations are wonderful. I use them. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm not saying there's nothing effective about them. I'm just saying don't wait to go to where you can go listen to a guided meditation. You don't have to. You can do this anywhere. You can do it in the shower. You can do it in the car. You can do it while you're walking. It doesn't matter. Do it while you're on the train. It doesn't matter. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Okay. So tonight I want to teach you real quick. I want to teach you a new breathing technique. It's called box breathing. And it's not real complicated. There's some complicated breathing techniques that we won't get into. This is another simple one. Okay, but I really like this one. Okay, because I've been an athletic coach for 30 years and I push myself pretty hard physically. And I use this with with my athletes. I use it with myself. So this is really good when you're out of breath, when you're hyperventilating, or you just kind of feel like you're losing control. And I think that the control aspect of this exercise helps us feel like we're regaining control. It also helps control the breath and increases the oxygen level, does everything. Okay. So with box breathing, what you want to do is you want to inhale and count the inhale like we did in the other exercise. Okay. So let's say maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. But so you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then you hold your breath for 4 seconds. If you inhaled for 4, then you want to hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you slowly exhale over the same count. Okay. So you begin to exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you hold your breath again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you hold it again, and so you're creating like a box. You've got your inhale and your inhale 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4. That's why it's called box breathing. Okay, this is an amazingly effective technique. Okay, now the only problem with this technique is that if you're extremely out of breath, it can be difficult. And initially, it can make you feel a little more anxious and make your heart rate feel like it's going to accelerate a little bit. So you have to be careful with that. Okay. But this is a great technique for in the morning. And even going to bed, like a quick meditation, and not the going to sleep type thing. I'm talking about if you're just wanting to wind down, from the day, and you brush your teeth, whatever, you're thinking about going to bed, and you want to sit on the edge of your bed, or even, climbing your bed, or some recliner or whatever, and do a quick box breathing exercise. It kind of starts to gear you down, bring you down a little bit before you go lay in your bed. It's a great effective technique. And so I suggest that you try it. And this is actually a really good exercise, a breathing exercise, to try to do when you're anxious or you're angry. And the reason I like this in those situations is because you have to focus on the box. And when you're focusing on the box, you're taking your attention away from focusing. When you focus on your anxiety, your anger, you're feeding it. Okay. When you pull your focus off, you focus on your box. Not only you're increasing your breathing, but you're pulling your focus away from what's bothering you. Okay. This is a great breathing technique. It's called box breathing. Okay. Remember, all these, you can do all these all day. And I suggest you practice, especially the box breathing too. The more you practice this now, the more familiar the odds will increase that you'll use it when you need it in a situation where you're anxious or you're angry. Okay. And I mentioned a minute ago, one of the last things I want to say about being anxious or when you're angry is when you catch yourself being anxious or angry, try to separate yourself from the thoughts and the emotions. Okay. Try to take a step back and switch to observer mode. And you have the ability to separate yourself from it and almost move into an out-of-body experience. All of you have that capability. We're so used to being immersed in it and thinking this is who we are, and I talked about it, it's almost like the victim mentality. You're like, oh, here we go again. I can't, but you can. It just takes a lot of practice. And when you begin to do that and separate yourself back, you can step back and be like, whoa, and really start to analyze your behavior, almost like you're someone else watching it happen. And it like you're in control of an avatar. And it's really a cool experience. And it's essential for your growth. You'll have to move into that sometime. Okay. You should try it. Try it in any situation. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can try it in any situation, but it becomes really effective in the situations where you're angry or anxious and you feel like you're losing control. It helps you regain that control. Okay. And that very simply is mindfulness. Being aware in the situation and not panicking is mindfulness. Okay. That's why martial arts are the way they are, because martial artists train to be mindful and they don't panic in a situation where they have to fight for their lives. They're trained to be calm and aware of what's happening and make the appropriate moves at the appropriate time. Two people fight, and one person's a street fighter and the other one's a martial artist. The street fighter gets mad and he comes running at the martial artist. He's probably going to get hurt because the martial artist is going to be patient. He's going to react to what comes at him rather than reacting with anger. It's going to be with calculated moves rather than with the anger. And this is the same way here. Being mindfulness, we're stepping back, we're watching, we're starting to make better decisions. I just haven't described it this way yet. So, and it actually it starts to become to the point that it's a great way we start to observe just how ridiculous our behavior is. And I say that with lightheartedness. When you begin to realize how ridiculous your behavior is, please don't chastise and browbeat yourself. You're only human. We all have our quirks, and it's part of it. I mean, you learned it somewhere else. Someone taught you it. Everything you know, someone taught you or you observed it. And it's really, there's no reason to get upset. It's why the Buddhists are so happy and laugh. I don't know if you know much about Buddhism, but traditional Buddhists are happy all the time, and they don't take things seriously. They laugh at each other. Most importantly, they laugh at themselves because they understand the true nature of humans, that we're all quirky. We all have ridiculous behavior. Until we become aware and we can change it, we do some ridiculous things sometimes. And sometimes they're harmless and sometimes they're harmful. And knowing the difference is huge. We've been talking about this for 3 months. Lighten up. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't take life so seriously. It's just not that serious. It's only serious if we allow it. Okay? None of us are getting out alive. We're all going to the same place. Hopefully later rather than sooner. So enjoy it while you got the time. Okay? All right, so let's meditate. I won't go through the whole rigmarole, but make sure you're comfortable. Whether you can stand, sit. Just make sure that your back's straight. If you're in a chair, your feet are on the floor. We want to make sure that we have good posture at all times. And you've heard me say it. It's because it helps facilitate the distribution of energy and oxygen throughout the body. So I'd like you to just relax, your hands comfortably. You can close your eyes when you're ready, and let's begin to breathe. Very simply, just breathe in, breathe out. And let's start to bring our awareness into our bodies. Come in and focus on the breath, just taking normal inhale, normal exhale. After you do a couple of those, let's take a big, huge inhale through our nose, and let's just sigh of relief and exhale as loudly as you'd like. Blow it all out. Remember, this is our go-to technique any time of day, and it feels so good. Let's do it again. Big inhale and blow it all out as loud as you need to. Don't underestimate being vocal when you do a sigh of relief. There's a reason you like to be vocal. There's a reason martial artists yell and make noises when they strike and exhale simultaneously. They exhale when they strike. Please keep that in mind. Please utilize that when you do your sigh of relief. Continue to breathe. And make sure your awareness is internal. You're focused on your breath. And I'd like you to just make some observations as you inhale and observe how the air feels as it enters your body through your nostrils, your throat, expanding your lungs. And as you exhale, how the air feels exiting your lungs as well. Now we're going to shift our awareness to the soles of our left foot, the sole of our left foot. I want you to inhale deeply, and I want you to visualize the air entering your body, moving all the way down your leg to your left foot. And then when you exhale, visualize the air leaving the foot through the leg and back out through the body. And as you visualize the air filling the foot, observe any sensations that you may feel in the soles of the feet, the arch, the ball, tops of the feet, toes. Any sensations that you may, if you have socks or shoes, or the pressure of your feet laying against the floor. Just observe. And also, I wanted to invite you to, as you inhale, visualize the breath expanding the area of your foot, expanding the muscles, breaking up any tension that you may have in the muscles. And as you exhale, visualize the tension, soreness, clinging to the breath and leaving the body with the breath. Now I want you to inhale and visualize the air moving to the left lower leg between the ankle and the knee. Let's do the same. Visualize the breath expanding the muscles, stretching and healing them, breaking up any negativity, any soreness, tension, and watching that soreness and tension cling to the breath and exhale the body with the breath. Now let's visualize and bring our breath to the left upper leg, the thigh area. Observe any sensations you may have there, any tension or soreness. Do the same. Allow the breath. Visualize the expansion of the leg, the muscles, stretching, releasing tension, and the tension exhaling, exiting the body with the exhale. Now let's visualize the breath filling and expanding the hips, lower back, groin area. Again, expanding our existence, expanding our muscles, helping them release any tension, toxicity. And just blow it out. Visualize it leaving the body. Now let's do the same thing with the right foot. Let's inhale, visualize the air, the breath moving all the way down the leg into the right foot, filling and expanding the foot. Observe any sensations that you may have there, any tension in the arch, the heel. And let it cling to the breath like dust to a white cloth as you exhale. Blow out all the tension and negativity with it. And let's do the same thing for the lower part of the right leg. Pay particular attention to areas that may be sore. Now the upper leg, thigh, the back of the thigh, the back of the leg. And really visualize the breath expanding the muscle, stretching it, releasing that tension. And watch as the tension leaves the body with the exhale. Let's do the same thing with the right hip, right lower back, right groin area. Visualize the breath expanding that area. Exhaling the tension, the toxicity. Now let's visualize the breath bring it into the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, filling the entire back, expanding the shoulder blades. Observing any sensations, any tension that you may be holding in these areas. And sending them on their way with the exhale. And the expansion is important. We spend all day trying to navigate in and around everyone else's space. This is your time to really expand your body, expand and take up your space here on this planet. I'd like you to visualize now on the inhale, the breath going into both shoulders, broadening your shoulders. You carry a lot of weight on your shoulders. Visualize the breath expanding them, broadening them, strengthening them, releasing any stress, anxiety, tension that you may be holding in them. Visualize it exhaling, exiting the body as you exhale. Let's do the same thing with the back of the neck. You have muscles on each side of your spine and your neck. You carry a lot of tension there. Let's envision the breath really stretching, expanding those muscles, really breaking out any of that tension that you're holding there, shaking it loose, letting it fall off, letting it blow out as you exhale from the back of your neck and blow right out your mouth. Let's take a deep inhale. Let's visualize the air going into our chest, into our lungs, expanding our chest, bringing healing to our abdomen, really expanding our heart, expanding our organs, nurturing, bringing oxygen. Oxygen is necessary for our survival. Oxygen is critical to our brain. It's critical to our cell function. As you visualize bringing this nutrient, this oxygen-rich air into your chest and expanding your chest and your internal organs and healing them, again, send the tension, the negativity and stress out along with it. Exhale. Now I want you to visualize bringing this oxygen-rich air into your brain, into your skull, into your mind, and really expanding your mind. And I want you to visualize exhaling any anxiety, anger, resentment, any negative thoughts, anything weighing down. Just let it go. Like you're letting go of a bouquet of helium balloons and just watching it drift off. But on each inhale, I want you to visualize your brain expanding, your mind expanding. I want you to visualize the calmness coming over you. And I want you to visualize the calmness cascading down from your brain to the rest of your body. Visualize the brain telling the body it's okay to relax. And I want you to observe your body relaxing as this sensation comes over and fills your entire body from the head down. With each inhale, I want you to visualize with each inhale, not only the oxygen that you're bringing in, but I want you to bring in compassion. I want you to bring in light and love and strength and resilience. And I want you to bathe yourself with those emotions, those things that you want, that you deserve, until they encapsulate you completely. This is the power that you hold. You can give these things to yourself as you're doing right now. You deserve this. And right now, I want you to take a moment to just sit back and observe how you feel. What is there for you right now? What has changed since earlier today? What has changed since an hour ago when we sat down here? How do you feel different? How do you think my voice had an effect on it? How much do you think you had control on how you feel now? And I want you to make a promise to yourself that this is what you want. This is what you deserve. And this is what you should have. And remember this, anytime you encounter things that are counterproductive to this feeling, that this is ultimately where you should be. This is what's best for you. This feeling right now, this is what we want. This is heaven on earth right here. And anything negative that wants to punch a hole in this should be dealt with accordingly to not disrupt this. And you have the power to make that choice. You have the power to give this to yourself. Just take just a few moments to breathe and observe and think about the things that I said. Now, whenever you're ready, begin moving, wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, making slight movements. Whenever you begin, bring yourself back to wherever you are. Feel free to open your eyes whenever you're ready. You don't have to do it now. You can stay here as long as you like. See, if we were in person, I'd be able to see who was finished and who wasn't. And if you, most of you weren't finished, I wouldn't be talking right now. So if you're still in your zone, you can certainly block me out and stay in your zone. I do have some homework for you. Good, Carrie. Thank you. I'm glad that. I'm glad. Thank you. I have some homework for you for our bonus rounds, which I still haven't asked. So I'm really putting her in a bad situation. I don't think she'll care, but I want you to think about some things that cause you anxiety and anger. And I want you to be honest. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell anyone. It's not the point of this. The point is for the self-reflection and the awareness. We talk about looking in the mirror and being honest with ourselves. Okay. I want you to increase your awareness about these things this week and write them down if you have to. Actually, that's a really good idea. I would like you to write them down. I want you to write down what infuriates you. I want you to write down what makes you worry. I want you to write down what triggers you. Anything unresolved. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's from last week or from when you were 8 years old. It doesn't matter. This is about you. Okay? There's no right or wrong to these. While you're writing these things down and you're thinking about these things, I also want you to write down anything that you observe while you're thinking about these things. Okay? This could be physical symptoms, it could be other thoughts, memories, whatever. No wrong, right or wrong answers. Completely subjective. That this is your deal. Okay, just just observe. Do some investigating. Okay, gather your ammunition. I told you before. There's a war for your happiness. There's a battle for your happiness. Okay, get this stuff out. Gather your ammunition for your battle. Okay. Next weekend, we're going to use that information and begin breaking it down. Again, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell everyone here. It's completely on your own. It's going to be kind of generalized for you to do on your own. Um, so that's really it. I want to thank you again for coming. I enjoy our time together so much. It does. I can't tell you that it does. To lead you into meditation is very therapeutic for me as well. So I get a lot out of it. I'm glad. I'm just glad you're here. I hope all of you have a great night and an amazing week. And I'll see you next week.